to an incredibly windy Isle of Lewis. I've just driven off the ferry on my way down to Tarbot on the Isle of Harris because I've got a workshop which is due to start there tomorrow. I'm just going to hide from the wind. We're really high up here, we're very, very exposed, so we're getting the full force of the wind now. But on the way down to Harris, I'm just driven along this single track road where we've got a whole selection of these types of properties. I just love photographing them, they're absolutely beautiful. You can just see some sun rays just developing there on the left, and that's what I'm waiting for, is to wait for those to fully develop before I take the photograph. But the idea is to convey this sense of remoteness and this sense of bleakness with this photograph, and I'm hoping that by being where you are, I can convey that. Now the photograph is pretty much where you are. I'm going to be using the Fuji GFX50 on a wide composition, a 65 by 24mm mailbox composition, which is going to really, I hope, convey this sense of openness and raw emptiness. Can you see those lights over there, those rays? They're brilliant. I don't know why I'm talking to you, I should be photographing. These are the many challenges that present themselves to a landscape photographer here in the Outer Hebrides. The wind is just insane at the moment, it's brutal, and facing this way is the only way, it's the only sporting chance I can give myself of being heard. But as you can see, camera set up, we've got the Bothy on the right hand side of the photograph and then the distant Harris Hills on the left hand side. And I'm just waiting for these sun rays to develop. They're there at the moment, but they're quite weak, so I'm just waiting for them to just become a little bit more powerful, just to add a little bit of impact to that side of the composition. But it's all set up, I'm ready to go. And I'm looking forward to getting this photograph taken, if I get the photograph taken. That's not bad, that's not bad. I've got to face this way, away from the winds, so you can hear me. So yeah, the shot, there's no filters on this photograph. It's too windy. I'm shooting at, hang on, 50th of a second. I think anything slower than that, by adding a filter, whether it be a polarizer or neutral density filter, it's just going to introduce the possibility of camera shake. It's so windy, not only camera shake, but see, this tripod's already fallen over twice, and you've already fallen over once, so no chance of any filters. I may include some fallen down a hole. I may just play around with the sky in post-processing just to dampen down the highlights, because it's so windy, the sky's moving really, really fast, so I may just play around a little bit in post-processing in Lightroom or Photoshop just to dampen down the highlights in the sky. But yeah, with my landscape photography, it's kind of four elements. With that's the second time I've gone down there. Four elements is to get a half decent photograph is like you find a subject matter, the Bothy, composition. You create a composition by placing the main subject in the frame how you want it to, and then it's a bit of lighting. I wait for try to photograph in decent light if possible, and then it's about timing. Now what I'm waiting for now is timing. I've got the other three elements, or at least two of them, and I'm just waiting now for the timing. I've got to keep on facing this way so you can hear me. So yeah, timing, and the timing here is to do with the sun rays, so I'm just waiting for the sun rays now. But yeah, it's a good shot, I like it. It's a lovely area, it's a bit raw but it's good and I'm enjoying it. I've composed it also in such a way that there's I've got to remember to face this way and not fall down this hole. I've got to compose it in such a way that there's a body of water to the right hand side of the photograph, and I want to make sure that there's separation between that water and the Bothy. That will provide the depth that I'm looking for in the photograph, so fingers crossed. The rays are just beginning to develop, so let's have a look.
I just love being in the wide, open, raw emptiness of the Scottish Highlands. To disconnect from our highly digital world and connect with our natural world. I couldn't help myself. I just had to bring in that old favourite photographer's prop, the wooden palette, just to add a little interest to the plain concrete wall. But what a view.
I don't know if it's my mind's playing tricks with me, but I think the wind's died down. I don't know whether I'm just being optimistic. But because now the sun's gone in, the sun rays have disappeared, so that element of the photograph's been taken away from me for the time being. So what I've done is I've come round to the other side of the property, and because it's the highest property in all this area here, I'm going to give it some kind of importance in this photograph by coming down below and shooting up and having the building elevated and above me in the photograph, and therefore conveying this sense of importance. And I mean, who knows? It might be owned, or might have been owned by I don't know, somebody really important, maybe a landlord or a landowner. Who knows? So therefore, I'm going to try to convey this in the photograph by coming down below, having the building above me, and shooting up. So like the angle is like going like this, and the building's going to be in the top third middle segment of the photograph. Well, that's the idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to give it a try. It's good to just be able to walk around, and the nice thing about there being no direct sunlight, look at that sun ray behind me, can you see it? Brilliant. Trust me to miss that. The nice thing about there being no direct sunlight, which is not unusual in the Outer Hebrides, is it doesn't dictate to you in which direction you photograph. So you can photograph north, south, east and west. Whereas normally if the sun's out, you're dictated to by the direction of the sunlight. So this is good. I'm looking forward to this. I've composed it again in such a way that the building is just bang in the middle of the photograph. So I've kept the same camera, the Fuji GFX 50 Mark II, and the 20 to 35mm lens. And I'm shooting at 25 because, again, although I want to keep the property in the middle centre third of the composition, I want there to be space all around it, just to accentuate, just to exaggerate the importance of this property. So let's get it photographed and see how it looks.
This lower, submissive perspective gives the building an air of superiority and importance befitting of its perceived position as the highest property on the moor.
No, it's still windy. I thought the wind had died down at the last location, but it hasn't. But I've just driven about 100, 200 yards further down the road, and we've come across this property here. And what I like about this property, similar to the last location, is its prominence within the landscape. It just sits proudly on the brow of a hill. Now the sun's gone in, but we've got some lovely texture in the sky behind, which is really interesting me, as well as this rustic green roof. Now I know it's corrugated iron and I know it's naff, but it actually looks quite nice through the camera. And then we've got the green door, the Shakin' Stevens green door. So it looks okay. I'm quite happy with it. Now the photograph is going to be taken similar to where you are there. I'm going to be a little bit lower down and I'm going to be a bit wider out because I want to convey this sense of open emptiness that is all around me. I mean, it's just literally, apart from wind turbines behind you, there's just vast emptiness of moorland and the odd cluster of trees, and there's some deers running around. So it's a beautiful scene. Apart from the wind turbines, they're a little bit of an eyesore, but that's I would just erase those from our minds. But yeah, so I'm going to set it up. I'm going to still use the Fuji GFX 50 on a wide lens, probably the 20 to 35mm, just to have a wide perspective of the photograph. But it's a really, really simple image. I don't think even I can muck this one up. At least, famous last words, but I hope not. Again, because the light, there is no directional light. Now normally the sun is actually behind me, but of course it's behind clouds, so I can shoot in this direction. I'm not being compromised in any way. I might have a little bit of dynamic range issue, so I might take two photographs, expose for the sky and then expose for the building, and then just combine those two in post-processing. But that aside, it's a fairly simple photograph. You may just be able to make out there's some derelict buildings on the left. Yeah, on the left-hand side of this building, and they're old abandoned derelict properties, and they've just got the gables standing up. And so if I can include those as well, it's a kind of it's adding some kind of interest further through the photograph, further through the depth of the photograph. So I'm keen to include those. But I'm looking forward to getting this photograph. So I'm going to get you behind the camera, and I'll explain to you why I'm using the lens that I'm using and the composition which I've chosen. So as you can see, I've lowered the tripod down to just being on one leg here, which is again giving me this sense of elevation towards the building, which is what I like. That's the kind of message that I'm trying to get through. Glasses are such a faff, aren't they? But yeah, I like it. It's looking good. So I'm going to compose the building on the right hand side of the image so as to open up the left hand side of the photograph so that I can see those derelict abandoned properties in the far distance. And the texture of the sky is just, it's beautiful. It's trying to rain now. It just, wind, rain, it's the our temperatures. You just gotta love it. It's very raw. But, so I'm using the base ISO of 100 on this camera with an aperture of 16, f16, and a shutter speed of a 15th. I'm not going to put any filters on. The polarizer has no purpose. The graduator filter, again, because the Bothie is punctuating the line of the land and the sky, again, using a graduator filter is just not going to work. And I think if the sky was moving towards me and it wasn't raining and windy, I'd probably put a neutral density filter on, just so you can get this this effect of the sky coming towards you, racing towards you. But I like the texture of the sky just as it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This hopefully will be a half decent photograph. I'm going to grab it before too many rain spots get on the lens, but yeah, I kind of like it. It's okay.
In the time that it took me to bring the wheelbarrow round to the front of the building, the transition in the weather systems momentarily created a dark, moody sky with a warm glow on the horizon.
So this is the last photograph of the day, and it's also the easiest one of the day. It's right on the road. There's no need to climb any hills to reach the highest Bothies. But I've stopped here on the roadside, and I'm going to be photographing, putting my tripod on the road and taking a really simple, straightforward photograph of this property. And what I like about this property is this texture here, this texture on the metal and on the doorway. It's beautiful, and it's just got an empty surroundings. Absolutely fall over. It's just a really simple photograph, and I love simplicity in my images. It really is nice. So I'm just going to set my camera up on the road, the Fuji 50 GFX or Fuji GFX 50. Going to keep the wide angle lens on, and I'm going to try a long stop filter, a 10 stop filter, just to see whether the sky makes any kind of any impact to the photograph. But if it doesn't, I'm quite happy just to use the texture of the sky as it is. But yeah, it would be nice if there was some side light. If there was some side light coming in from either direction, if it was coming like this way, it would really make this texture here pop. It would be good. But in the absence of any dramatic light, we're going to keep it nice and simple. And let's see how it looks. The one thing I've got to be mindful of here is, apart from cars, is when I'm photographing buildings like this, I haven't got a tilt shift lens, so I've got to position the tripod to minimise the effect, or to erase the effect of converging verticals. I have to position the tripod at a comfortable level. So this isn't a comfortable level. I'm getting a little bit of converging verticals. But if I just raise it just a little bit, like so, it kind of diminishes it a little bit. It doesn't have the 100% effect that a tilt shift lens would have. But nevertheless, it's good enough for what I'm trying to do here. So let's get the shot done and see how it processes.
The beautiful textures of this building and the vibrant, flaky paintwork is why I took this shot. The 10-stop neutral density filter disabled the sky, further enhancing the texture and the building.
Well, that concludes this little drive down this single track road in the backwaters of the Isle of Lewis. I hope you've enjoyed it. It just goes to show that even though the weather has been against me, there's been no direct sunlight, there's been no drama in the lights, no drama in the sky, it's still great just to get out with the camera and photograph. You just never know. You just never know what's going to happen in those transitional periods of rain and wind and sun. So it's been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you have. And if you have, please consider subscribing to this new channel of mine, which is entirely dedicated to photographing here in the Northern Highlands and photographing this beautiful countryside. I'm going to head back to the hotel now, where my guests are waiting for me in readiness for the beginning of my new workshop here on the Isles of Highlands and Lewis, which starts tomorrow. So for now, I appreciate you watching. Thank you ever so much, and I shall see you soon. Bye for now. Bye-bye.